Hi, everybody. I have a botany lesson for you today. Botany is the name for the branch of science that is studying plants. So the younger part of you have been studying seeds lately, and the older folks have done that before, so they'll be okay. We've been talking about how inside of every seed, there is a little baby plant waiting to grow. And that thing in there is called the embryo. The embryo is the little baby plant. Also inside of the seed with it is the cotyledon. That's the food part that the baby plant is going to eat when it starts growing. And all of that is protected by the seed coat, which we sometimes call the testa. And that is helping keep the seed from getting too wet or too dry or anything else bad that might happen to it. It's like a guardian layer. Now, we know that if we take a seed and plant it in the ground and give it the things it needs, like rain from a watering can or from the sky, and sunlight and some good soil with nutrients in it, that it will grow. But this also happens all the time in the world without our help. And when plants are trying to spread around and make their seeds and send their seeds to new places, they have to figure out a way to get their seeds all spread out. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The fancier name for that is seed dispersal. The word disperse means to spread out. So seed dispersal means how seeds spread out. We're going to talk today about different strategies, different ways that plants send their seeds out into the world so that they aren't all just growing right underneath their parent plant, because that wouldn't do much good. I'm going to share my screen with some pictures for you. And we're going to look at the pictures and talk about all the different ways that seeds can disperse themselves, different ways that seeds can spread out. When we're done, you might choose to follow up by drawing some pictures or writing some things down. Maybe you want to make a poster or a book about the different ways seeds disperse. Maybe you want to check in a book that you have at your house or on the internet for some extra information and learn some more. Maybe you want to go out into your yard and see what types of seed dispersal have been happening in your yard. Whatever feels good to you is good for me, but make sure that you follow up in some way, even if it's just writing down a couple sentences. Let's share that screen and get going. The first type of seed dispersal we're going to talk about today is seeds that are dispersed by wind, seeds that use the power of the air blowing across them to spread themselves. And my first picture is one you, I'm sure, have seen before. When a dandelion is done being a flower, when its seeds have developed, it turns into that puffball thing that is so tempting to pick up and blow. And in fact, you picking up the dandelion puff and blowing on it is exactly what the dandelion wants to happen. If you don't do it, the wind will do it. Because the dandelion has built its seeds specifically so that they will be carried by the wind. If you look in the picture, you can see that each little seed has its own kind of parachute. I'm going to draw on the screen to show you what I mean. I'm going to draw in a bright pink color that's easy to see. If you look right here, that is one seed plus its parachute. The little yellowy speck at the bottom is the seed. It has the seed coat, and inside the coat is the cotyledon and the embryo. And then this little stick part and the little fluff at the top are just there to help the seed get where it needs to go. Those are there to help catch the wind and help the seed be carried off so it can land and grow in all sorts of new places. Now, your parents may or may not be thrilled when dandelions grow in their yard, but the dandelion plant is very thrilled because its whole job is to make seeds and spread them out. And it's going to use wind as its helper to get spread around. Another seed that uses wind to help it disperse is the maple. You've probably seen these little things before and maybe played with them. We often call them helicopters. When a seed drops from a maple, it has the same setup as the ones that come off of a dandelion, but with a bit of a change. It's supposed to catch the wind, but not be carried up and up and up and away the same way a dandelion one does. On this maple seed, you can see right in there, that darker blobby part, that's where the seed is. That's where its seed coat is, and inside of it, the cotyledon and the embryo. All of this part, the part that looks like a little wing, is the part to help the seed catch the air. So when it falls off the tree, it twirls slowly down. And that stops it from just going plunk straight to the ground. It helps it drift off and away while it's falling. I think that wind dispersal seeds are some of the most common ones that we see in our yards. I bet if you go look, you can find some seeds that would disperse by wind just in your yard. And there are a lot more than just dandelions and maples. So if you find something else, maybe bring a sample of it to school or draw a picture or even take a picture, because it would be awesome to share those things with each other. Right. Our next way that seeds can be dispersed, we're going to talk about 5 different ways, but sort of 6. It's kind of like 5 and a half. Our next way that seeds can be dispersed is by water. Some seeds come from plants that grow near the water, and some of those plants that grow near the water like it when their seeds fall in the water. They make seeds that float. And so the idea is that they splash into the water, and then like a little boat, they get carried down the river or down the stream or even across the ocean. And when they bump into land again, that gives them a totally new place to grow. Coconuts are a seed that are dispersed by water. It's kind of weird to imagine a coconut as a seed because it's so big, but a coconut is a seed. And the shape of it, with that hollowed out center full of that coconut water, that helps the coconut float. So when a coconut tree grows on a small island, its coconuts can drop and roll into the ocean and get carried off to whole new islands, which is very much what the coconut tree wants. Because remember, plants' job, their work in life, is to grow and make more of themselves and spread out. And so the coconut tree is going to keep growing, and it's going to keep making seeds, and it's going to keep spreading those seeds out because it wants those seeds to spread to as many places as it can. The lotus is another plant that spreads itself out. If you look at this crazy thing, this is what's left after the flower bloomed and the seeds were pollinated and the seeds grew. Each of those little blobs in there is a seed. That's a seed, that's a seed, that's a seed. When they fall out of this leftover flower bit, they'll hit the water and float away across the lake until they find a new good place to land. And when they land there, if they're lucky, they'll grow and make a new plant. So far, we have seeds that disperse by wind and seeds that disperse by water. Next, we have my very favorite one. We have seeds that are dispersed by animals. And this is the and a half one, because seeds can be dispersed by animals in 2 different ways. The first way is internally. Remember, we've been talking about prefixes. The prefix in means inside. That's convenient, isn't it? Internally means inside of a creature. So when we say that seeds can be dispersed internally, we mean by an animal eating them. This cute little mouse eating these blackberries, every single one of those little blackberry blobs, each of the little pieces of the fruit, has a seed inside of it. And they're going to go into the little mouse's mouth, through its digestive system, and out its behind in poop. And during the time that that seed is going through this little mouse's digestive system, it's probably gone running off to go somewhere new, looking for more food or looking for a place to hide or looking for something to drink. And because of that, by the time this little mouse poops out the seed in a big old pile of poop, it's going to be in a new place. And a seed that is dispersed internally through the inside of an animal is actually really lucky, because when it comes out of the animal in that pile of poop, it has lots of extra nutrients to help it grow. For a seed, being in a pile of poop is actually a really good thing. Seeds love it. Now, some seeds die if they go through an animal's digestive system. But most of the seeds that come in things that taste good to an animal, like a blackberry, are built so that they actually will grow better after they go through the animal's digestive system. It's like the plant planned on this. It made its fruit or its seeds so tasty that the animals would want to eat them. So the animals could help the seed do its work. They could help it spread out all over the place and get to new places to grow. That's my favorite one. I like thinking about it. My least favorite one when it happens to me is the other type of seed dispersal that uses animals. We have internal, which means inside of the animal. We also have external. X means out, just like that word exit has to do with going out. Or an exoskeleton means the skeleton on the outside, like a bug has. Well, animals can help a seed disperse in an external way. And that happens when a seed, instead of being tasty, it's actually sticky. This is a picture of a poor dog who got burrs stuck in its ear fur. Those burrs are a seed that have little spikes on the end. And if you look really carefully at the spikes under a magnifying glass or just really close with your eyes, you can see that they have little curls on the end. It's almost like the seeds are made of Velcro. And so if they touch something furry, those little hooks will grab onto the fur. And then this dog's going to carry on with its day, or the deer or the bunny or whatever the seed got stuck in. And by the time the seed falls off, either because it got bumped around too much or because the animal pulled on it with their teeth and got it out, it's going to be in a new place. It's going to be dispersed to a new area where it can grow. Now, we definitely know that humans are animals, right? We can help disperse these seeds too. Maybe you've ever been out on a hike, and when you come home, you realize that your socks are covered in little bits of seeds. This sock is covered in seeds from a type of grass. Because they're all pokey, they grabbed into this person's sock, just like they would grab onto the fur of an animal. And so sometimes when you're a human going out on a hike, you're actually helping disperse seeds too, using the external method of seed dispersal. You may notice sometimes that when we play out in the field, Esri gets a lot of seeds stuck in her fur too, and then I call her Seed Dispersal Pup. Next time you hear me call her that, you'll know exactly why. She's helping a bunch of plants spread their seeds when she gets covered in them. There are two more ways that seeds can disperse. We have wind, we have water, we have with animals internally and animals externally, and we have gravity. Remember, gravity is the force that makes things fall to the ground. Gravity is often not the only thing a seed is doing to disperse. It's normally like step one, and then the seed will use one of the other methods for after that. In both an apple and a coconut, the tree holds on to its fruit. It keeps it up in the tree until it's ripe, because when the fruit is ripe, that's when the seed inside is done being produced. If an apple comes off the tree before it's ripe, its seed might not be ready to grow yet. And the same thing happens with the coconut. And so in order to make sure that only seeds that are good, seeds that are ready to grow and have an embryo developed and a big enough cotyledon to give them good food and a nice hard seed coat to protect them, the trees will only let their fruit drop when the seed hiding inside is in a place where it's ready to grow. When it's ready, these heavy, heavy fruits with their heavy seeds inside use gravity to pull them to the ground. The seed falls, and once it's down there, then the next method of seed dispersal can happen. For apples, that's normally the internal animal's way. It's animals eating up the seeds and carrying them somewhere new. And for coconuts, it's normally the water way. But both of these plants use gravity first to help them decide when their seeds are ready to move on to their next step. The last one is one that I think will be your favorite. Some seeds disperse by exploding, literally exploding, like pew, bits going everywhere. There are some that are growing in our fields that we play in at school. So when I see you all on Thursday and we head out to the field to do some work together, I will show you the seeds that disperse by explosion. One that I know of that disperses by explosion that is not in our field is called jewelweed, and that's what this is a picture of. Its little seed pods, the fruit that are holding the seeds inside, are grown in a specific way that makes them really tightly held. And if anything brushes against them, they go pow. The vegetative parts, the green parts, go flying off, and the seeds that are no longer held trapped in there just explode in every direction. If you go walking by a creek that has a lot of jewelweed by it, anytime your pant leg brushes the seeds, they will explode out and disperse really far. If a deer goes walking through some jewelweed, it'll work too. If a bunny hops through some jewelweed, it'll explode too. That's a really fun way that plants can help disperse their seeds. And it has some cool science to it too. Maybe you'd like to investigate how the plant grows in such a way that it has the power held inside its seed pod to explode. Maybe that'll be a story that we'll talk about another day. For now, we know now all the ways that seeds can disperse. I'm going to write them down real quick so you can see them, and then we'll be done for today, and you will be ready to do your own work. All right, here's our ways. Seed dispersal way number 1 is by wind. I'm going to write it in cursive and in print because I know some of you are working with each of those. Seed dispersal way number 2 is by water, like a coconut. Seed dispersal way number 3 and 4 are both by animals. But we have internal when they eat it and external when it sticks to their fur or your socks. Then we have gravity, when the force from inside the earth pulls it to the ground. Remember, that one is often not the only step. It's normally like step 1 in a process. And our last one is explosions. Some seeds disperse by exploding. A couple more ideas of things you might do for follow-up, besides just writing or drawing. You could make a comic. What if you made a comic where your main character was a little seed and it was trying out different things to put on it to make it disperse different ways? Maybe first it would put on a little backpack with a parachute so it could disperse by wind. And then maybe it would get a little inflatable boat and go disperse by water. You could make your own science comic like those cool ones we have at school. Or remember, just go explore in your yard and see what you find. You will probably find something. If you're still writing these words and need more time, remember you can just press pause. But for everybody who's feeling ready, it's time to go get to work. I hope you enjoyed the lesson. I hope you are ready to come to school on Thursday if you'll be around for that. And I'll see you all in person soon. Bye, everybody.